Oh, I did want to start off with this poll. I have a poll. It's good to know, where the American people are. This is a YouGov poll that was released this morning. It was polled yesterday. Do you want the U.S. to be at war with Iran? 85% say no in this poll. 5% say yes. That's mostly people in the Trump administration. And 10% say they're not sure whether or not. Now, the good news is we're not at war with Iran. We just bomb them. It's not a war if you don't call it they didn't declare it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They just dropped bombs on someone. And as J.D. Vance says in this clip we have later, we're not at war with Iran. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program.
Yeah.
I'm sure if they bomb one of our ships, like, we're not at war with America. We're just at war with the USS Nimitz. Like, that's it. That's all it is.
Well, see, Iran is not a baby yet. It's just a clump of cells.
Yeah, that's what it is. The nuclear program was, for sure.
Yeah, it's a clump of cell. It's a clump of cell nuclear. It's fuselages, and it's not a full, human yet. It's not a full-fledged nuclear facility. So we're able to bomb it. We're able to abort it. It's same thing. That's why. See, you see why definitions matter?
Yeah, definitions are pretty important.
Of course,
here.
I'm kidding, but this is obviously an act of war.
It's clearly an act of war.
Clearly.
If someone else was like, oh, yeah, we're not at war with the U.S., we're at war with the U.S.'s nuclear program, and they bomb some of our nuclear sites, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, that sucks.
Literally, all it would take, it would take like an Iranian soldier to walk over to a U.S. base.
Yeah.
Just walk over there. And just spit.
I was going to say throw a rock. But
no, but he just
spit
on the guard.
And they would be like, "This is an act of war."
This
and then
is war.
Bomb people.
Yeah, and then we would just slaughter every single one of them. So he spit on me.
So as you know, this is our first time talking since this whole thing happened. We know that we hit 3 sites in Iran on behalf of Israel over the weekend. Trump says they completed the very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. Full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There's not another military in the world that could have done this, which is why Israel painted us into the corner of doing this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yeah.
People have made fun of that second to last line there, as they should have. Like, you bomb someone and then you're like, now's the time for peace.
Yes.
Walk up to someone and you punch them in the face. You're like, now's the time for peace. Truce. Everything's fine. Don't hit me back. It's time for peace.
Yeah.
I just hit you. You don't hit back. And there we go. That's what you do. I do have, let's see, we got a clip here from Trump's little speech that he gave afterwards. It was fine. I'm going to play just a little bit of it. We're not going to play a ton.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani.
All right, so we knew about that stuff. That's Trump. He says it was a success. Their nuclear program, the facilities have been completely obliterated. We just have to be super clear about this. We had no clue whether or not their nuclear program or facilities were obliterated because they're buried 300 foot deep in a mountain, and we haven't been in there, as far as I know, to look around and see if they've been obliterated. We have pictures of holes in the ground. We don't know how far down the bombs made it before they went off. We don't know the kind of destruction that happened in the facility. I'm sort of jumping ahead, like many of my slides that I have in the presentation right now, but after hearing him say it, like right after it was done, we have no clue whether or not it worked.
Do you know what it takes to confirm a bunker buster missile like that?
Boots on the ground.
Yeah. Well, it happens in most places. You wouldn't want to go afterwards to confirm it.
Yeah.
So,
it's, like Nate said, I'm sure they're very effective, and I'm sure they did a lot of damage, but you don't know for sure whether or not you hit the specific areas and destroyed the specific parts of the facility, mainly like the centrifuges and stuff like that. And on top of that, now we're finding out afterwards, we don't even think that the enriched uranium was in any of these sites. We think they moved it beforehand. It's starting to remind me even more of the Iraq thing. When I was so into the Iraq thing, and news reports started to come out that like, oh, we can't find the WMDs. We just don't know where they are.
They moved them.
And
obviously.
the cope immediately at that time was, well, we took so long to go in there that they had plenty of time to move these WMDs out of the country and hide them. They had them when we went in there. They just moved everything. And I'm not saying they don't have enriched uranium. It just sort of reminds me now we're going to be chasing around different places that we think they're moving this uranium to and bombing those. And I feel like eventually there's going to be some boots on the ground in this thing. I hope they're not American boots. I know they're wanting to do regime change and all that now. I'll show you the post. I'll show you the True Social post eventually.
Well, what's going to happen though? I mean, did you see Scott Horton on Piers Morgan?
I watched the clip that was going around that a dissident posted out there. That was going around talking about they weren't actually working on a bomb yet. Are you talking about that clip?
Well, that, and then you also did a great breakdown of like what troops on the ground would actually mean and why the population of the country's actually important. You're talking about security. What are we going to do? We don't even have 1.8 million soldiers to corral the Iranians. Now, look, I've seen several women on TikTok talk about how terrible. Well, no, it's true. Iranian women talk about how terrible Iran is for women.
Of course they are. Yeah,
and of course that's probably true.
It's definitely true,
and that's not a good thing. But what gives us the right to bomb them or go to war with them simply because of how they treat women?
Well, the idea, Charlie, they were thinking about eventually someday pursuing the course of maybe making a bomb, potentially. So.
Oh, yeah. They were weeks away.
I mean, you felt you're scared right then, right?
Oh.
What's funny is like the whole they're weeks away, even Israel had said beforehand, because they bombed the crap out of Iran for a week before we did this, that they had probably set their nuclear program back like another year or so. Just in the bombing that they had been doing in Iran before that. There was no immediate need to do this at all. Just keep that up. There was literally no immediate threat of them about to have a bomb, anything like that. And Scott did a great job breaking that down. I know Scott's on some different shows today. We're going to try and get him on the show this week sometime to talk about this stuff. He's a great guy to talk to when it comes to all foreign policy.
Now, what I find interesting is that we are literally fulfilling the great plan of Benjamin Netanyahu. Iran was the final country to fall or needed to fall on the list. That he introduced in 1995.
I did go back
30 years ago.
I did go back and read that finally in the 7 countries in 5 years thing and all
1996
that. 1996
maybe.
Yeah, it's. We did,
and
the
then
list.
Also, Scott Horton was right whenever you interviewed him before Donald Trump actually became president that Donald Trump was bought and paid for by Israel.
Yeah, he did say that.
And he's going to be their puppet.
He did say that.
And it looks as if that's what's taking place. And I'm also extremely disappointed in people like Tulsi Gabbard, who's leading the DNI, who's part of this team, who just a couple weeks ago said, or a month ago or so.
It's in March when she said that.
Okay, March.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's like everything's fine.
Yeah.
They're not even close.
That's
they don't
when
have anything.
That's really when you could tell that we were about to do a war, which is how I said it. Which is how I said it online. I'm trying to get to, there we go. Yeah, we knew the clip of Tulsi going around. She posts out a longer clip and then says in the text of her post that the clip was taken out of context. The clip is not taken out of context. She just added more context in her message and assumed that people weren't going to watch the video that she posted, where she said that dishonest media is intentionally taking my testimony out of context and spreading fake news as a way to manufacture division. America has intelligence that Iran is at the point that it can produce a nuclear weapon within weeks to months if they decide to finalize the assembly. President Trump has been clear that can't happen, and I agree. My full testimony below. All of those things still fit within her testimony that they're not pursuing the bomb. It just says, like, if they want to do it, they could do it. She testifies that they have not restarted their nuclear program, that they paused in 2003 in this video. And all she says is that, yeah, if they are at the point that it can do it if they decide to finalize the assembly. And when I saw that, that was the clue that we were about to do it. And my message was, I said, message alignment in progress. We're going to do a war soon, aren't we? So they got her on board. They got her on the record saying that this was a danger, saying that Trump was right. And then like the next day we go in and bomb. So that was a clear signal before that all happened. Let me go to a couple JD Vance vids. He's been another big disappointment on top of Tulsi being a disappointment. JD Vance is, and you know, why are they even a disappointment? You know, I don't know. I guess they're going against a lot of the things they've said about the forever wars that we've been waging. It's hilarious. The former posts from Tulsi talking about no war with Iran and criticizing Trump for hitting Soleimani and all of that. She was even selling T-shirts that said no war with Iran. The link is dead now. Doesn't work. All these people are a massive disappointment, including Trump. Here's a couple things from JD Vance.
Question, Mr. Vice President, is the United States now at war with Iran?
No, Kristen, we're not at war with Iran. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program. And let me just say, Kristen, that we're incredibly grateful. And
we're not war with Iran. We're just at war with Iranian children. You know?
My God. That seems like a dumb bleep of the week submission right there.
Oh, for sure.
We've already said several of the other ways you could say this. Iran is not, they're not at war with the U.S. They're just at war with our aircraft carrier program. And, whatever it is. So if they want to bomb some of our nuclear sites. Like, oh, no, we're not. That's not a declaration of war against America. We just didn't like that nuclear site right there,
Yeah.
And we somehow have the right to tell another country what they can and can't do. And so that's what we're going to do. That would be completely ridiculous to anyone. JD Vance says, don't worry, everything's going to be fine because we used to have dumb presidents and now we have Trump.
And the second thing is, Kristen, I certainly empathize with Americans who are exhausted after 25 years of foreign entanglements in the Middle East. I understand the concern, but the difference is that back then, we had dumb presidents, and now we have a president who actually knows how to accomplish America's national security objectives. So this is not going to be some long, drawn-out thing. We've got in, we've done the job of setting their nuclear program back. We're going to now work to permanently dismantle that nuclear program over the coming years, and that is what the president has set out to do.
So we haven't.
We promised this time.
Yeah, this time it's different.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
Well, the full force of the military, American military might, just like Afghanistan and Iraq, we're just going to go in there, do our business, and get out, and it'll be over before you know it.
It'll be over before you know it. It's not going to be long and drawn out, and we're going to do this over the coming years.
Yeah,
he said all those things in that statement.
Exactly.
Okay.
And what's so funny is, we have a few new faces, right, that were elected or appointed. But the rest of the deep state's still there.
Yeah.
All the same guys and gals who've been running the Middle Eastern wars for the last 25, 30 years are all still there. They're loving it. They've got such a war boner right now.
Oh man, it's massive.
It's raging. They probably need to see their doctor.
Yeah, they probably do. Let's see. This is the White House press secretary. I think this morning, pretty sure, saying that they are confident that they have just destroyed this facility and this program.
We are confident, yes, that Iran's nuclear sites were completely and totally obliterated, as the president said in his address to the nation on Saturday night. And we have a high degree of confidence that where those strikes took place is where Iran's enriched uranium was stored. The president wouldn't have launched the strikes if we weren't confident in that. So this operation was a resounding success, and administration officials agree with that, as well as Israel.
Mainly Israel. Agrees with that.
Yeah.
So they're confident, and they're also confident that that's where the uranium was stored. But it seems like Israel is not confident about that. They saw like 16 trucks getting loaded up and leaving Fordo beforehand, and they think they could have carted off some of the enriched uranium at that time. They can't bring like the centrifuges and stuff like that. They're just too big. They only have those Toyota Helixes over there, and they don't have F-350s and stuff like that.
Well, also you're talking about radioactive material.
Mainly it's because they just have the little Toyotas over there, though. And they got to leave the flag in the back. There's no room for that.
But they can, they can make a missile that's going to hit America.
Trump says any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. I'm glad he cleared that up there at the end of that post. I was confused that Lindsey Graham had taken over his account there for a minute. So there's a couple things. First off, the uranium. Let me get to that first. U.S. officials concede they don't know the whereabouts of Iran's uranium stockpile. Okay, so that's, as we've alluded to now many times, they don't know for sure that it was in there. Israel, now this could all be Israel trying to make sure that we just keep bombing places and that we keep this war going forever until the regime falls in Iran, because they're now saying like, yeah, we think they loaded up a bunch of it and they transported it to this other facility that we need you guys to bomb for us. Now, the U.S. originally like, yeah, we're pretty sure it's in there. Actually, she just said like, yeah, we're confident. We're very confident that the uranium was in there. We wouldn't have bombed it otherwise. We think that we took that whole place out, including the uranium. And now we're like, I'm not sure. Senior U.S. officials admitted uncertainty about the whereabouts of Iran's nuclear bomb-grade uranium stockpile, and Iran is reportedly building a new underground facility replacing Natanz. What this essentially shows is that this is not over. This is going to be a...
Well, JD Vance said it.
Yeah. They're going to... Like, we've set them back for sure, but we haven't fully taken care of their nuclear program. And what are you going to do? Like, even if you get rid of the uranium, like, they still know how to do it. There's still people there that want to do it. Unless
it's going to be a lot more secretive about
it. They're going to be way more secretive about it. I believe they have much more of a case to sprint towards a bomb as quickly as they can. Netanyahu was saying they had enough to make 9 or 10 atomic bombs, something like that. They might just make one of them, as quickly as they possibly can. Or they're sort of bedfellows with Russia. Maybe they get some of them leftover Soviet Union nukes, They have 30,000 of them at one time. Now they say they got like 6,000 of them. You think they really got rid of every single one of those nukes?
No, we know that. We actually know that there are several that were lost.
Yeah.
That we don't even know where they're at.
So I don't think this is over. I don't think it's going to be over for a long time. There are other things that could happen. Like right now, the American people don't want to get involved, like troops on the ground. We don't want to do a regime change war, really, unless Trump sends out a few more posts about it, and then you want to do it, or you're not MAGA or whatever. And so we don't want to do it yet. But as I said, I think on Friday or on Wednesday, around the time that I was giving Trump credit for wanting peace and for not bombing Iran, around that time on the show on Friday when I said that.
The B-52s were already in the air.
This can be, we can be dragged into this, and it can be popular. And the way it gets popular is if Iran does some sort of terrorist attack in the United States. If they successfully carry out a strike against a U.S. base, successfully, I'm meaning in their book, where they kill some U.S. troops, or if they hit a ship, something like that, the American people can be swayed pretty easily by the emotions of wanting to go back and retaliate against those people. Mm-hmm. As Trump said, and as J.D. Vance said, like, this is not a war. We just took out your stuff, and then you're not supposed to do anything back to us. And so it's not a war. Mm-hmm. We just bombed those places. We're at war with that facility right there, not the greater Iran, But if they retaliate, then it is going to be framed as they're starting the war with us by doing that.
Yeah, of course.
I can 100% guarantee you that's what's going to happen. And the American people will have to say, well, we have to respond to this, whatever it is that they do, especially if they wake up some sleeper cells in the U.S., which plenty of people are.
They've been sleeping.
They're sleeping right now. They could wake up. Sleeper cells. Let's see. The Hill says the threat of sleeper cells in the U.S. has never been higher. Threat of sleeper cells in the U.S. has never been higher, though there are no current specific threats, according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Memo sent Saturday from CBP Commissioner Rodney Scott, obtained by the Hill's sister network News Nation, said thousands of Iranian nationals have been documented entering the United States illegal, and countless more were likely in the known and unknown gotaways. Though we have not received any specific credible threats to share with you all currently, the threat of sleeper cells or sympathizers acting on their own or at the behest of Iran has never been higher. The memo urged CBP personnel to remain vigilant. You know what we're going to do? We're going to have to pass that big, beautiful bill. They need money.
That's what it is.
They got to go after it. And if you don't vote for it, you're clearly in favor of Iranian sleeper cells.
And terrorist attacks.
Terrorists attacking people in the United States.
And you should be primaried.
And you got to be. We'll get into that. Don't worry. The other thing that could happen, they've talked about closing the Strait of Hormuz. Now, I'm not entirely sure they're going to do this. The markets are not reacting as if they're going to do this.
Well, they actually voted on it. So Parliament did vote to shut it down, but of course it has to be approved by the president.
I know they did vote to do it, but the market's not taking them seriously right now. That could change really quickly if they just decide to do it. I think doing this, I've said this to a couple people, closing the strait could be a likely reason that we end up with some boots on the ground because we'll want to try to get it open. There's reasons that they might not want to do it, though. But that's not a source of a ton of our oil. It is like a 20% of the world's oil, but a lot of it goes to China. It would actually hurt Iran and China more quickly if they were to close it. It would hurt us too because oil prices overall would rise because of that, but it's not like a direct source of all of our oil. That's what we got right now. We'll see if that happens. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh,
well, the other thing we haven't really talked about yet, which is probably the most important part, I think we talked a little bit about it in the pre-show, is that this is all illegal.
Yeah. I got a ton on that.
It's literally illegal what's happening, and it's been this way for 30 years. Mm-hmm. But Congress, the war powers rest with Congress, and we have not declared war since World War II. And so everything the government has done for the last 80 plus years, the military action that's been done against these other countries is all illegal.
Well,
and if you want to impeach people and arrest people or whatever the case is, that's the reason we should be doing it.
It might not
be for
be
legitimate illegal reasons.
It might not be that illegal is the best way to say it. I would say unconstitutional, but they did originally start with the AUMF to go after the people who did 9/11 and other terrorists in the region. And so they had, that was actually passed, voted on and passed. And so they had the legal ways to go about doing that. Now, constitutionally, we'll see. It goes back to the War Powers Act, which is just 1973. It's not like James Madison wrote that or anything. That's 1973. And there's a carve out there for something like the AUMF in the War Powers Act. But it's nothing that the founding fathers would have envisioned whatsoever. You know, I could concede all of this from the right if they'll just never mention the Constitution or the founding fathers ever again. That's really, they don't deserve to be able to mention those people ever again, is my biggest thing. It's so clear that the things that they're doing are not in pursuit of what made America great. The ideals of the founding fathers, the ideas of the U.S. Constitution and limited government and all of that. They don't care about that stuff anymore, except for when it suits their purposes. That's it. Mm-hmm. Just like the left. They're basically the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And did anybody ask the question, so like, you know, this intelligence that's coming in, that Iran is weeks away or months away from, you know, developing a nuclear weapon, is probably coming from Israel. And did anyone ever ask, like, is Israel lying to us?
Yeah, they wouldn't do that.
Are they lying so that will complete Netanyahu's plan?
That's the craziest part of this. You know, now, right now we're talking about, well, is it legal or illegal for Trump to do this? And then we're talking about, well, do you want Iran to I can't decide how to say the country, Iran, to have a nuke or not have a nuke or whatever. But that's not even really the first questions you should be asking beforehand. First, you'd be like, are they even working towards a nuke? Are they even close to having a nuke? We have no evidence that they are. We know about the 60% enriched uranium. Scott Horton made great points that those were supposed to be like leverage for negotiations, basically. I would say that kind of backfired as far as the negotiations are concerned. Then you have to ask, like, should they be able to have a nuke? You know, North Korea has nukes, China has nukes, Russia has nukes, Pakistan has nukes.
Israel has nukes.
Israel has nukes. They're not even supposed to have nukes, but they got nukes. You know, India has nukes. We got a lot of nukes too. We're the only people that ever use them. And we're deciding
talking about potentially using them.
Yeah, we're deciding that Iran can't have them. And the funny part is, I didn't put the tweet in here, but like the idea is, well, yeah, but mutually assured destruction works for semi-rational actors. The idea is no one uses the nukes because it'll be the last thing you ever do. You're going to die, and all your people are going to die after that. So no one ever uses them. But the idea with Iran is, well, they're a bunch of radical, violent Islamists who think that if they can at least get a strike against Israel or maybe even America, who cares if they get totally destroyed afterwards? They're just going to paradise afterwards anyway. So they don't care about mutually assured destruction. The really funny part is everyone's saying, well, they're not going to do anything after these strikes. They're not going to do anything after Trump strikes on their nuclear facilities. They know better than that because they know that we will end them after that. I'm like, well, those two things don't go together at the same time. You just said they can't have a nuke because they don't care about mutually assured destruction because of their religion. But we can hit them and they're not going to hit us back because they're scared of what we'll do afterwards.
Right.
And they literally hold both of those ideas in their head at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It might be the case that they don't hit us back because it would be it's not going to work out well for them.
No.
If they do that.
No.
Like, it's not going to be good.
It's not going to be good for the U.S., but it's going to be worse for them.
It'll be worse for them, for sure.
Yes.
It will. It would be smart of them to not do anything. Like, they're not going to go to war with us and win. So it would be smarter for them to not do anything. But I think it's unlikely they're not going to do anything at all. We'll see. Trump has mentioned the regime change words now, just so you know. We'll brush by this real quick. I did want to make fun of James Lindsay real quick because on the 18th he posted out, other than the few neocon senators like Lindsey Graham and the Persians themselves who hate the Republic of Iran, has anyone at all even said regime change is an objective here? Why is the dominant talking point for MAGA? Why is it the dominant talking point for MAGA influencers? And then we'll post Trump's post here a few days later. He says, it's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change, MIGA? MIGA. Sorry. I read it wrong.
MIGA.
Yeah. MIGA.
Make Iran great again.
Yeah. Make Iran great again, which that really is what he cares about, only it's make Israel great again. That seems to be his most important thing. But anyway,
which, by the way, Iran seemed, according to pictures, pretty great, in the 70s before the CIA took over and overthrew the current government.
Say they were probably great maybe they were fine in the 50s, and then we put in the Shah, and then, they had a little bit more freedom than they have right now before 1979, and then stuff got real crazy, and only according to who polls this, what was YouGov go into Iran and do a poll, only 20% of the people support the Ayatollah. I don't know. And so do they need a regime change? Well, yeah, the regime sucks. They should change it.
Yeah,
they should. If I were them, I would do whatever I could to change it. The fact that we are pushing the idea of regime change doesn't make me feel good about it, because it sure is a good thing we didn't get rid of USAID yet, because they're going to have some work to do over here, doing a little bit of regime changing.
It doesn't work when outside forces are the ones who do the regime change.
It's got to be real,
because they leave a vacuum for power to take over.
It's not just that. It's got to be a real popular revolution that happens, or the people will know it's fake and it's not what they want, and it's been imposed by outside people. And even when it seems real in the first place, sometimes it's not real. There was stuff happened in Ukraine back in 2014 that may or may not have been real when that took place. And so I think we should just leave it alone, but I think Israel is going to be pushing for this pretty hard. This whole thing is supposed to be about their nuclear program. Okay, we did the bombing. That happened. What are we doing?
We're confident we set them back.
Didn't we win?
At the very least.
Isn't this over?
Right.
Why are we still hit? Why did they hit a power plant last night? They're trying to destabilize the country and get the people all spun up to do a regime change. And you got no clue it's going to be better than what they have right now. This could be way worse than what they have right now. People that think the people running the people running the country are weak, and they want some actual strong people to come in there and show Israel and America who's boss. You got no reason to think that there's going to be better.
They could elect ISIS leaders.
Yeah, and then we'd be their ally afterwards, though.
Of course, Lindsey Graham agrees.
Yeah. So I wanted to go through some arguments that this is unconstitutional, by the way. So Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution grants Congress the power to declare war and authorize military force. Critics argue the strikes on Iran, which targeted nuclear facilities at Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, constituted an act of war requiring congressional approval, as they were offensive in nature and not response to an imminent threat to the U.S. The War Powers Resolution of 1973 requires the president to notify Congress within 48 hours of introducing U.S. forces into hostilities and to terminate such actions within 60 days unless Congress authorizes them. Critics, including the former Representative Justin Amash, argue that the strikes were unambiguously unlawful under this resolution because Trump did not secure prior congressional approval and the action was not justified by an emergency or imminent threat. So this whole, has to notify.
They must have had the bomb then.
He has to notify with, even though they've said plenty of times they didn't have the bomb. It's supposed to be an imminent threat. Even in this notifying within 48 hours thing, it's supposed to be an imminent threat. Let's see. Lack of imminent threat. Office of Legal Counsel has stated military actions constituting war for constitutional purposes. This is why they say it's not a war, by the way. For constitutional purposes, require congressional approval unless they address an imminent threat or are limited in scope, duration, and risk to U.S. personnel. Critics argue that Iran's nuclear facilities, while a long-term concern, did not pose an imminent threat to the U.S., as confirmed by a March 2025 U.S. intelligence assessment. No existing authorization for use of military force. There's no AUMF authorizing military action against Iran. They considered invoking the 2001 AUMF, which is related to 9/11 and al-Qaeda, by linking Iran to terrorism. But legal arguments called this argument unconvincing, as Iran is a sovereign state, not a non-state actor like al-Qaeda, who we're friends with now because they're running Syria, but whatever. The lack of a relevant AUMF strengthens the case that Trump's actions exceeded his constitutional authority. So we got all that. So the relevant part here of the War Powers Act says the constitutional powers of the president as commander-in-chief to introduce United States armed forces into hostilities or into situations where imminent involvement in hostilities is clearly indicated by the circumstances are exercised only pursuant to one of these three things. So he can do this pursuant to one of these three things. Number one, a declaration of war. Number two, specific statutory authorization. That is the AUMF. That is an example of specific statutory authorization. Number three, national emergency created by attack upon the United States, its territories, or possessions, or its armed forces.
Now I see what Trump was saying in his press conference.
Which one?
He said Iran has been, for the last 40 years, has been the number one state sponsor of terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
They are responsible for killing 1,000 troops, basically. Like that. So that's what they're doing. They're linking Iran back to attacks on the United States, armed forces and possessions.
Which is true.
We just waited.
It is true. We just didn't do it then because apparently it wasn't important enough to do at that point in time. It's just an excuse for us to get involved in Israel's war right now. And this is where I get so upset about people on the right, the MAGA folks, acting like they care about the Constitution and the Founding Fathers.
The Iranian firsters. I mean, America firsters. Yeah.
In no part, this is a quote by James Madison, regardless even of what the War Powers Act says, or the AUMF, which does not include Iran, regardless even of what those say, if you were to ask the question, would the Founding Fathers agree with this strike? In the original intent of the U.S. Constitution and the powers of the branches of government, would the founders agree with Trump's actions against Iran?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
And that there is no possible way to make an argument for them saying that it's okay. They'll bring up the Barbary Pirates. That's all they're going to bring up, which is a story which they have no clue about, I would guess. James Madison says, in no part of the Constitution is more wisdom to be found than in the clause which confides the question of war or peace to the legislature and not to the executive department. The Constitution supposes what the history of all governments demonstrates, that the executive is the branch of power most interested in war and most prone to it. It has accordingly, with studied care, vested the question of war in the legislature. Which brings us to Thomas Massie. There we go. Let's play a clip here from Thomas Massie. Trump is going hard on Massie at the moment. I've got a clip from him. I'm going to play right fast. And let's see, a little over 2 minutes long. Let's play this clip from Massie.
And Massie, it's interesting because you were talking about a part of the party you represent. The Secretary of State comes from a different part of that same party, as you know. And I did hone in on the question about intelligence and what it showed. He called it an ambition to weaponize. Weaponization ambition. That's different than they're making a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
But are you open to intelligence and persuasion here?
I'm open as well. But look, in the first Iraq war, the second Iraq war, and the war in Afghanistan, Congress first got the briefings. Congress met and debated. It should have been declarations of war, but at least they did an authorization of use of military force. We haven't had that. This has been turned upside down, this process.
Well, you heard from Mitch McConnell, the former Republican leader, the senator, say it was a bad week for the isolationists. He was talking about Tucker Carlson and he was talking about Steve Bannon. Do you think that the president is making a choice here, or is he trying to have it both ways? Both saying, I'm going to please the hawks of the party by bombing, but then I'm going to say I want a peace deal and make the isolationists happy by saying, I'm not committing to anything more than one and done.
Well, I'll concede this. It was a good week for the neocons in the military-industrial complex who want war all the time. I wouldn't call my side of the MAGA base isolationists. We are exhausted. We are tired from all of these wars, and we're non-interventionists. I mean, this was one of the promises. I mean, are you going to call President Trump's campaign an isolationist campaign? What he promised us was we would put America first. And I think there are still voices in this administration. You've still got J.D. Vance. You've still got Tulsi Gabbard. You still, RFK Jr. You still got calmer heads that could prevail.
They were not persuasive in this case, clearly.
Well, somebody was persuasive. AIPAC is very persuasive. For instance, the Israeli lobby in Congress. If you look at my colleagues' feeds now, they all look the same. They're all tweeting the same message, that we've got to support Israel and we've got to do this. My question is, Does, 3 bombings and we're done with Iran's nuclear ambitions? Is that the 2 weeks to slow the spread of 2025? Is this,
So
there it is.
There's the thing at the end of the clip there. 2 weeks to slow the spread, 1 bombing mission, and we're done. And I think we're already seeing that it's not 1 bombing mission and we're done. That's what he said.
All of his colleagues. The Twitter feed looks the same. They have a message from AIPAC they have to get out.
First off, that assumes that Iran's not going to retaliate at all. And if they do retaliate in any way, then we are going to bomb them some more. And we're going to say that they declared war on us. We didn't declare war on them. We declared war on their nuclear facilities. And so when they retaliate, that's going to be an act of war against the United States. And people will get that message will work with people. That's the sad part.
They have about 40 bases to hit. That they could hit.
Yeah, there's 40,000 troops within striking distance of Iran, and
we're sending more as we speak.
I've been to a bunch of those bases, by the way. Great people there. Fun places to hang out. From what I'm told,
wouldn't it be weird if a spot that you ate at, you sat down in the mess hall and
gone,
and then it got bombed?
That'd be weird.
That'd be so weird.
So then we get to this stuff here. Let me get to Trump didn't like that. So Massie goes on Face the Nation. He goes on some other channels, and he's talking bad about Trump. And he's saying this is unconstitutional. And he's, even worse, he's partnered with some Democrats on this war powers resolution in Congress. He's the only Republican out of 40-something co-sponsors on it. And he's the only Republican on it. And the MAGA people online, and I spend way too much time on X. I need to get off of there, but
you're going to see your therapist at BetterHelp about it.
They think that because it's Massie and the squad, that it means Massie is secretly a Democrat and anti-MAGA and anti-Trump, and that's not the case. The case is the squad or Democrats will use the Constitution when it suits them to use it, just like most Republicans will. They'll use it when it suits them, and they'll look for any opportunity to go after Trump that they possibly can. The Democrats will. Any possible opportunity, they'll create opportunities to go after Trump. Massie is 100% constitutional government, constitutional votes, constitutional actions all the time.
He's principled.
Principled all the time. There is no exception. Today we're going to ignore the Constitution because this guy says this. It doesn't happen. Now, sometimes that means they're going to be aligned because Democrats will use the Constitution when it fits them, when it suits them to go after Trump. And that's the only time, really, that they'll use it. So they happen to be aligned right now. That does not mean that they're the same people. Does not mean that they have the same goals at all. The Democrats that are talking about impeaching Trump or this being unconstitutional and all that, I don't give a shit what they say. They don't care. They don't care about the U.S. bombing places unconstitutionally. They don't care about the unilateral executive power and violating the War Powers Act or Article 1, Section 8, that Congress must declare war. They don't care about that. They want to go after Trump, all right? So I understand that. But that's not what Massie is doing. He is always being constitutional and principled all the time, something that these people on the right pretend that they care about also when it suits them, and then they ignore it when it doesn't. So Trump comes out and says this about Massie.
By the way, this is what I would consider a narcissistic emotional dump.
Yes.
Right here.
Yeah.
So he truths out, Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky is not MAGA, even though he likes to say he is. Actually, MAGA doesn't want him, doesn't know him, and doesn't respect him. Now, it's interesting because Trump liked Massie when Massie came out and, supported
Donald
Trump.
Endorsed Trump in the election.
Yeah, exactly. He is a negative force who almost always votes no matter how good something may be. He is a simple-minded grandstander. Simple-minded. A guy who's got 43 patents.
I don't know how many patents it is, but it's a lot.
Who's an engineer by trade. And, you just have to watch. Yeah. You have to watch some of his YouTube videos. He's a
Of
genius.
him showing off his farm and all that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Thomas Massie's a genius. But according to Trump, he's simple-minded, grandstander who thinks it's good politics for Iran to have the highest level nuclear weapon. What's so interesting about that, I haven't heard Thomas Massie. He's not on Twitter. He's not on Face the Nation. He's not out there saying Iran deserves to have nukes.
Yeah. He's got 29 patents.
29, sorry. I
Yeah.
said 43. 29 patents. Anyway, he's
obtained through his work with Sensible Technologies, a company he co-founded with his wife in 1993 while they were at MIT.
Yeah. So he's not out there saying that Iran deserves to have a nuclear weapon or anything like that. He's just saying, look, if you want to go to war, he's saying what Ron Paul said. If you want to go to war, ask Congress to make a declaration of war.
This is war. People are going to die.
Yes. It's important.
And there's plenty of time. There was no imminent threat here. There was time for Trump to go to Congress and ask for a declaration of war.
By the way, you can get a secret declaration of war. You can go to Congress in secret.
They can
they have the closed door.
Yeah. They got
capability.
the gang of 8 people and all that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, at the same time, yelling death to America at every chance they get. Iran is killed and
People
maimed.
keep mentioning this death to America thing. Am I supposed to care? But I don't care that some random people in some country on the other side of the world are screaming death to America and throwing rocks at the ground. Like, I don't care.
Right.
Who cares? Am I supposed to be such a snowflake that I get so offended that these irrelevant people on the other side of the world say death to America? Why do I care?
Also, why? Why is he saying death? Why are they saying death to America?
They hate America, and while they do a lot of really bad stuff, and the regime, I mean, the people should rise up and create a Jeffersonian democracy. I would completely support them. They hate America because we keep jacking with their stuff all the time. Imagine if some country came over here 70 years ago and overthrew our government that we had and took it over and installed a brutal dictator monarch to rule over us until eventually the people rose up and they put in probably an even worse government afterwards. Okay, yeah. It wasn't great for them to do that, but
was it a real rise up? Or
we
was
would,
it?
Yeah, we would hate those people.
Yeah,
we would absolutely hate those people.
All right, so. And here's how they link it, by the way. Here we go. Iran has killed and maimed thousands of Americans and even took over the American embassy in Tehran under the Carter administration. So all the way back then.
Yeah.
We had a spectacular military success yesterday, taking the bomb right out of their hands, and they would use it if they could. But as usual, despite all the praise and accolades received, this lightweight congressman is against what was so brilliantly achieved last night in Iran. Massie is weak, ineffective, and votes no on virtually everything put before him. Rand Paul Jr. That's what we can call him.
Yeah.
No matter how good something may be, he is disrespectful to our great military.
He hates the troops. We've made it to
he
hates the troops. If you don't support our military actions in the Middle East, you hate the troops.
And all they stand for. You hate the troops and how they stand even. Not even acknowledging their brilliance and bravery in yesterday's attack, which was a total and complete win. Massie should drop his fake account and start putting America first, but he doesn't know how to get there.
It just says fake act.
Oh, sorry, fake act. But he doesn't know how to get there. He doesn't have a clue. He'll undoubtedly vote against the great, big, beautiful bill, even though non-passage means a 68% tax increase for everybody, and many things far worse than that. And also,
you could have just passed the tax cuts.
Yeah, just that.
You could have done. Could have done that, and you could have cut more spending if you wanted to do that. You could have done it without asking for a $5 trillion increase in the debt limit.
Well, we need to give money to the military. Obviously, we're about to go to war. Nate.
Yeah, and we have a risk of Iran attacking us on U.S. soil, so we got to get DHS some more money.
Yep, MAGA should drop this pathetic loser, Tom Massie, like the plague. The good news is that we'll have a wonderful American patriot running against him in the Republican primary, and I'll be out in Kentucky campaigning really hard. MAGA is not about lazy, grandstanding, non-productive politicians, of which Thomas Massie is definitely one. Thank you to our incredible military for the amazing job they did last night. It was really special. Make America great again. So Thomas Massie posts this picture, and says, Donald Trump declared so much war on me today, it should require an act of Congress. Oh, man.
This is so the war with Iran thing. I'll tell you, I believed for a long time it was inevitable. I made a meme about it. It was the trajectory of the bullet at Butler hitting Trump in the head, and it says war with Iran on behalf of Israel, and the trajectory of the bullet not hitting Trump, and it says war with Iran on behalf of Israel. I believe that this is an inevitable thing that we've been moving towards. Maybe it just happened faster than it would have otherwise, but I do believe that regardless who the president is, whether it would have been Kamala or Trump, that we were going to end up bombing Iran's, at least bombing their nuclear facilities, and we were going to end up defending Iran from attacks, or defending Israel from attacks by Iran, just like we did while Biden was in office. We defended Israel from attacks by Iran, and Israel still would have exploited that to launch an illegal war against Iran. And so I don't know that a whole lot is different as it concerns our foreign policy, and that's disappointing. It's very disappointing that it doesn't seem like a whole lot has changed. Of
course not. Well, the deep state's still there,
and so
that's why it hasn't changed.
I'd said previously that if Trump got us in a new war, that I would regret my vote for Trump. And
luckily, we're not at war yet. So
yeah,
just Iran's nuclear facility.
So as soon as we're in a new war, I'll let you guys know about that. But no, it is the case that I do regret voting for Trump, and that's not because I wanted. I think Kamala should have won, and that would have been better. That's not what I mean by that. I regret voting for Trump, and I'm still glad that he won and not Kamala. Okay, still just saying that. I would not have voted for the Libertarian candidate regardless. I regret doing what I feel like is giving away my principles. Essentially what I feel like I did in this election.
The Fed Haters Club is saying you want Kamala now.
Yeah. It's funny. When I say it online, everyone's like, oh, you don't have any proof that Kamala would have been any better. That's not what I'm saying. Okay? Yeah. I'm saying that I feel like I shouldn't have done it. Now I feel like me voting for Trump, and it probably always was the case, me voting for Trump was the equivalent of Thomas Massie voting for the big, beautiful bill. Why is he not going to do that? Just do it this one time. We got to do it, and he's not going to do it because he's a principled individual. And he's more principled than me because I feel like that's basically what I did. I was like, okay, this one time
I don't feel that way.
I'm going to vote for a lot of things that I disagree with.
I don't feel that way.
I
still think there are, as Thomas Massie said, there are cooler heads in the room. So maybe will still be a good chance that we prevent a full-fledged war.
Mm-hmm.
That's possible. It's also possible it doesn't. So we don't know what's actually going to happen. I don't regret my vote yet. I might.
Well,
but we'll have to see.
What I was saying. The reason I talked about how I feel like the Iran war,
real quick on your vote though, I still think it's important that we killed or we delayed, whatever you want to say, the extreme gaslighting that the left was doing leading up to the election.
Yeah, we just exchanged it for a lot of gaslighting on the right.
True.
Yeah,
but I think the important thing is that we at least won a battle when it comes to the truth bubbling up.
We own the libs.
No. We won a battle for the truth.
Yeah.
And you know what?
You know what's
we call it out the same when it happens on the right.
Do you know what's shaping up right now? A disagreement.
With?
Us.
Me and you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Let's play it up as much as we can.
I'm going to war with Nate.
Yeah, let's do it. No, here's so the reason.
Why do you hate America?
The reason I mentioned.
Look at my grandstanding podcast host over here, co-host.
The reason I mentioned
he never wanted to make liberty good in the morning. Never. Look at him. Let's listen to his laugh. His evil laugh.
Evil laughter.
He doesn't care He doesn't care about liberty at all. He's out there supporting Kamala Harris of all people.
Let me see if I can.
His laugh is similar. If you listen to it, He probably wants to put me in front of a firing squad.
I was going to try and go for the Tucker Carlson laugh, you know. But no, but seriously, what I want to say about this...
I don't know what that is. I'm a Christian.
Okay, back to a serious statement. Let me see if I can sway you. I might sway you today.
No.
Yeah, I might. I mean, I know you're going to be hard-headed, and I'm not going to sway you, but here's the deal. It's not the Iran war thing that should make you regret your vote. Not that at all. Because that was probably inevitable. As I said, the little meme I made, I mean it. I feel like it was inevitable regardless of who won the election. But this going after Thomas Massie thing, that is actually what has made me regret my vote for Trump and just be disgusted by him as a person.
Oh, hang on, though. He went after Thomas Massie before.
I know. I know.
Then you voted for him.
I did vote for him.
So it's like, did you forget about the last time he went after Thomas Massie?
I think it's more serious this time.
It ain't going to do nothing.
And, I think it will.
No.
I think it's very possible.
Thomas Massie's not going to get primaried.
Oh, he's getting primaried.
No, he's not.
What do you mean he's not getting primaried?
He's not going to get primaried.
How is he not going to get primaried?
Because he's going to win.
You have to go through a primary to get win. I mean, being primary just means someone's...
he's not going to get primaried.
Yeah, so you're saying no one's going to run against him?
No, what I'm saying is that
you mean he's not going to
lose.
Lose.
Yes.
Well, getting primaried means someone runs against you. It doesn't mean that you win or lose.
I thought it was like a verb.
So Trump has launched MAGA PAC in an effort to oust Representative Massie from Congress. He has actually started a PAC now. President Trump's political operation has launched an aggressive effort to unseat Kentucky Republican Thomas Massie, its first such effort to defeat the sitting Republican incumbent. By going after Massie, Trump's team is looking to put wayward Republicans on notice that they're ready to play hardball. Let's see. Massie, we know about all those things of Massie. Trump's $500 million political apparatus is the most powerful, well-funded force in American politics and gives Trump a weapon with which to target any lawmaker who crosses him. Trump's team has launched the Kentucky MAGA, a super PAC devoted to defeating Massie in the May 2026 primary. The organization will be run by Trump's senior political advisors. Let's see. They will spend whatever it takes to defeat Massie. Plans for taking on Massie were in the works before the congressman decided to call Trump's attack on Iran unconstitutional. Trump's operation has been talking with potential Republican challengers to Massie. Aides say the goal is to rally around one Massie opponent so that multiple rivals don't splinter support. The Trump team earlier this month quietly commissioned a survey gauging Massie's support in his conservative central Kentucky district and found the congressman would be vulnerable to a Trump-backed primary challenge. The survey, which was conducted by a Trump pollster, found that 52% would support a Trump-endorsed candidate and 23% would support Massie. 87% approved of Trump compared to 52% for Massie, according to the poll, a copy of which was obtained by Axios. 74% of the people in Massie's district say that they support Trump's big, beautiful bill.
But Massie, who was first elected in 2012, easily survived primary challenges in the last 3 cycles. His advisors argue that his libertarian-minded independent streak endears him to voters.
Yeah.
So
Trump did.
Go ahead. I want you to think that Massie's going to lose. That way he'll win, and I'll be right again.
I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
I do hope it's the case. Now, regardless of whether or not we think he'll win or lose, it's way too early to tell. And as someone in the group, Bailey, just said, there's so many things that are going to happen in the world before that. Trump could have way less popularity than he's ever had before, and they could think it's a detriment to have him on the campaign trail out there campaigning against Massie because people hate him so much. You have no clue. You could be dead by then. There's no way of knowing what's going to be going on next year. I think their primaries in like May or June or something like that in Kentucky. So we'll see. But here's what has completely soured me on Trump. What is it that Trump is trying to do? Because there for a minute, for some reason, I actually thought that he cared about making America great again, or that he was America first, or that he had realized that the government was too big and powerful and dangerous, especially after they tried to put him in prison for 600 years and all of these things, that he realized that the debt maybe was a problem, or the deficit was maybe a problem, that he was against foreign interventions and getting us entangled in all these different wars. And what he is saying, not just by disagreeing with Massie, like Massie just said that Trump did something unconstitutional, and Massie said that he doesn't like the big, beautiful bill. You can disagree with people on stuff. You could call them out and say, hey, that's crappy for you to do. You know, you're supposed to be on the team, man. What are you doing? But when you're going to create a PAC whose stated goal is to oust the only constitutional member, 100% pure constitutional member of the House, like the best member of U.S. Congress, House or Senate that exists, the closest thing to the founding fathers or what actually made America great, or who actually puts America first and stands for all the things that we care about and that Trump acted like he cared about to get our votes. He doesn't care about any of those things. He's actually opposed to all of those things if any of those things are against what he wants to do. He doesn't care about a single one of them.
That, and it looks like if you, this is one of the most narcissistic things ever, is if you cross him, then he will. Which once again, looks like he's going to spend $500 million. Like,
sure,
to
if
take
he crossed
out
him, it'd be one thing if Lindsey Graham crossed him, and then he was going to try and primary Lindsey Graham or something like that, or Ted Cruz crossed him or whatever. But crossing him in this case is stating that what he's doing is not constitutional and is illegal, and that doing a $5 trillion debt limit increase is a bad idea for a nation that's $37 trillion in debt. And that is crossing him to the point that he's going to create a PAC, spend hundreds of millions of dollars to try and make sure that Thomas Massie is out of office, the absolute best person that exists in the American government. That is anti-everything that we believe and that we want for the U.S.
So
government.
are you saying the Democrats are right, that he's authoritarian?
Yeah, they're all authoritarian. I've never once said Trump wasn't authoritarian. Not a single time.
Yeah.
I've always said he wasn't uniquely authoritarian.
Is he Hitler?
That the TDS was in thinking that Trump was uniquely authoritarian to other presidents that we had in the past, even 100 years ago.
Is he Hitler?
No, he's not Hitler.
Okay.
Not saying any of that. What I'm saying is, Trump's going to spend a ton of money or get a bunch of people together to spend a bunch of money to go directly against America's founding principles and directly against what we talk about on this show. Imagine if he was spending a bunch of money to try and put us out of business and we're like, yeah, I don't regret voting for the guy.
Yeah.
No, he is a terrible person who doesn't actually care about making America great. He's not America first. He doesn't care about the debt. He doesn't want the government to be smaller. He has absolutely no principles whatsoever. And that is, shame on me for ever thinking that something else was the case. So that it's plain as day to me now, and it was the Thomas Massie stuff that has finally pushed me over the edge. Not even the war, because I thought the war was inevitable in the first place. I don't think it mattered who won the election unless it was a libertarian that won the election. This was going to happen. So that's where I'm at on the matter. Can tell me otherwise, I guess, if I'm wrong about that.
Looks like someone from the Fed Haters Club is saying the U.S. jets are scrambling over Saudi Arabia. Attack on U.S. bank in Qatar is imminent.
U.S. bank? Like a branch? We have a branch of U.S. bank in,
I guess so. I don't know.
In Qatar?
Oh, my computer just died. So there's that.
I know that you're not swayed, but do you understand where I'm coming from?
I know, yeah. I get where you're coming from.
It doesn't mean that I'm going to be anti-Trump. I'm going to be...
Yeah, I see you hate America.
We're going to be... Well, we're always fair and balanced. We always call out the stuff that he does that we don't like. What's changed with me with Trump is that I gave him, as you heard on Friday, and a couple other shows last week, I've always given him a little bit of benefit of the doubt, a little bit of deference that he was trying to do the right thing. And I'm done doing that. I no longer see him as this different transformational politician who is going to make these massive sweeping changes and change America for the better. I'm done with that. I'm done with thinking that about Trump.
You don't believe the things he was saying previously, like he wanted to cut the military budget in half?
Well, no.
From the Oval Office.
No.
You don't think that the deep state is going to be getting, start to dwindle down?
No.
That we're actually going to cut spending and get rid of waste and fraud?
No.
All those things. He's just going to continue on the same song and dance.
The U.S. government will continue on its same trajectory that it's been on our entire lives. It's going to get more and more powerful, more and more tyrannical.
And the empire will fall.
It will spend more and more money that it does not have. And eventually it will fall. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. There are no changes incoming. And I hope I'm wrong about this.
That is a black pill.
I have spent an entire weekend hoping that libertarians were wrong about everything, that Iran's not going to do anything back. Wouldn't it be great if they just don't do anything back? It'd be cool. And then Trump could say, see?
Sounds like there might be something happening right now.
Yeah, we'll see. There could be something happening right now, so we'll talk about that tomorrow.
All right, y'all. Well, if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it around. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Go to godhatesfeds.com or join gmail.com. Be part of the Fed Haters Club. Look up Thomas Massie's website. Give him a donation.
Oh, yeah. I did. You're right. Hold on real quick.
If you want to, that is
secure.thomasmassie.com. /donate. I will post a link to that in the show notes. I set up a monthly donation to him last night. It's not a lot, but hopefully, every little bit helps. He's going to have a ton of money going after him. One really big thing I'm hoping is that I don't think it's going to happen now because they made up. I was hoping that Elon Musk was going to come in since he was supporting Thomas Massie's statements about the big beautiful bill and all that if this rift stayed between Trump and Musk, that Musk would come in and say, yeah, you're not going to oust like the only guy who's wanting to do the right thing in government. But now, since they're trying to make up and all that, and Elon Musk is like not posting about politics at all, yeah, we'll see. There's a lot of time still.
Yeah, there's still
a whole year before the primary.
Yeah. So go donate, leave us a rating and review. As I said, visit the links in the show notes to support the sponsors that support this show. And if you do all of that, we'll be back again tomorrow. Hope you have a good day. Well, unless a bomb goes off or something. I hope you have a good day and a good morning, Liberty. I hear a leaf.